Besides serving as the Foreign Minister, he has served multiple terms as Minister for Finance, represented Pakistan in major international financial and diplomatic forums, and played a leading role in advancing the country's foreign policy and international partnerships. Mr. Dar, if I can invite you to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasool al-Kareem. Honorable colleagues, distinguished ambassadors and UN representatives, learned scholars and policy experts, representatives of the international and national media, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. I wish to commend all the organizers of this seminar titled Indus Waters Treaty, an instrument of regional peace and security. I understand that throughout the day, leading experts from Pakistan and abroad have held meaningful discussions on one of the defining challenges of our times. Water transcends political boundaries, it sustains life, shapes civilizations, and its governance has profound implications for peace, security, and sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, water is not merely a natural resource. It is the foundation of human dignity, economic prosperity, food security, and environmental sustainability. Throughout history, great civilizations have flourished along rivers, and few river systems have shaped human history as profoundly as the Indus. For thousands of years, its waters have sustained communities, cultures, and one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility to preserve this shared heritage rests upon all of us. Transboundary rivers must bring nations closer through cooperation rather than divide them through confrontation. This principle is firmly embedded in international law and has guided water sharing arrangements across the globe. It was in this spirit that Pakistan and India concluded the Indus Waters Treaty in 1960 under the auspices of the World Bank. The treaty established a durable and carefully negotiated framework governing the 6 rivers to India, 3 eastern rivers to India and 3 western rivers to Pakistan, while permitting India limited use in accordance with treaty provisions. India has benefited immensely from the water storage, irrigation, and hydroelectric infrastructure built on the eastern rivers. We also do not object to India's treaty-based use of the western rivers and seek to settle any differences or disputes within the framework provided in the Indus Waters Treaty itself. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the treaty demanded significant adjustments from Pakistan as it had to fundamentally restructure its irrigation and water management systems in reliance upon the permanent legal framework. Despite being disadvantaged along the banks of our eastern rivers, where due to India's unrestricted use, these rivers dried up in Pakistan, but we honored the treaty commitments and obligations in letter and spirit. That investment reflected our confidence that international agreements, once concluded, would be honored in good faith. The treaty justified that confidence. For more than 6 decades, including periods of war and political tension, it provided predictability, transparency, and stability. It has rightly been regarded as one of the most successful examples of transboundary water cooperation anywhere in the world. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore deeply regrettable that this landmark treaty now faces its gravest challenge, India's unilateral decision to place the treaty in abeyance has no basis in the treaty itself or in the international law. Equally concerning has been the suspension of cooperation through the institutional mechanism that have been long served both countries under this treaty. Pakistan's position is very, very clear. We reject India's unilateral and illegal announcement. The Indus Waters Treaty remains valid, binding, and fully operative. No party can unilaterally suspend or terminate its obligations under a treaty that contains no such provision. This is not merely Pakistan's interpretation, it reflects the fundamental principle of international law that treaties must be performed in good faith. Our position has been vindicated by the ongoing proceedings before the Court of Arbitration constituted under the Indus Waters Treaty. The Court of Arbitration has also affirmed that the Indus Waters Treaty establishes a permanent legal regime governing the parties' rights and obligation over the Indus Basin. In doing so, it drew an analogy to boundary treaties, emphasizing the treaties creating stable territorial and resource allocation regimes are not susceptible or unilateral suspension or termination. If international agreements can be disregarded wherever they become politically inconvenient, confidence in the international legal order is inevitably weakened. The sanctity of the treaties is one of the foundations upon which peaceful relations among states are built. The implications extend well beyond South Asia. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, since April 2025, Pakistan has observed a pattern of actions that raises serious concern, including abrupt variations in the flows of Chenab and Jhelum rivers and continued efforts to expand infrastructure capable of regulating waters allocated to Pakistan under the treaty. Such actions undermine the cooperative framework that has preserved regional stability for almost more than 6 decades. The recent supplementary award of the Court of Arbitration reaffirmed that the treaty imposes substantive legal limits on India's control over the western waters. This reinforces an essential principle. Disputes must be addressed through the mechanisms established by the treaty itself and not through unilateral actions and measures. Ladies and gentlemen, India's presence in the region has been witnessed by the world after the war, and this is most regrettable attitude as some of the speakers I heard since morning, and particularly what Hina Rubani Khar Sahiba wound up the second session. India's present course of conduct runs contrary to the fundamental rules governing treaty relations, including the Vienna Convention, as well as universally adopted principles of international law. Responsible nations respect international law and implement international treaties as a moral and legal obligation. We are convinced that bringing international commitments cannot be arbitrarily, conveniently, or unilaterally disregarded, manipulated, or terminated. This remains the core of international law and norms. Incidentally, Pakistan has 2 years elected member seat in the UN Security Council from 1st of January 2025 to 31st of December 2026. And countries in turn get its presidency. So did Pakistan last year in July. Which subject we chose for the material and for the ministerial discussion during our presidency, you will be happy to note. Multilateralism, peaceful settlement of disputes. This was Pakistan's subject. And it was Dozens of countries, took part. I personally went to preside that session, July 2025. So that shows Pakistan intent, Pakistan respect, and Pakistan's intentions about the respect for the international law and the treaties. Responsible nations respect international law and implement international treaties, as I said, as a moral and legal obligation. We are convinced that binding international commitments cannot be changed. We must be aware of the cost of derailing an international treaty on trans-boundary rivers, choosing confrontation by weaponizing shared waters and breaching international law and binding treaties. Such transgressions in international relations set dangerous precedents, dent national credibility, and challenge the foundations of interstate cooperation. Such actions erode the rules-based order which international peace and security rest. For Pakistan, this is not an abstract legal debate. Water is the lifeline of more than 250 million people, our nationals, our agriculture, our security, energy production, and economic development depend upon the uninterrupted flow of the three western rivers to Pakistan. Protecting these waters is therefore a matter of vital national interest. Ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely advise India against sowing the seeds of war and jeopardizing the peace and security of our region. We must seek to promote peace in South Asia by addressing all outstanding issues. Pakistan has consistently sought to resolve differences through dialogue, diplomacy, and the treaty-based mechanisms agreed by both parties. We remain committed to these principles because lasting peace can only be built upon mutual respect, sovereign equality, and faithful implementation of international obligations. At the same time, there should be no misunderstanding. Any attempt to deprive Pakistan of the waters rightfully allocated to Pakistan under the Indus Waters Treaty would have profound consequences for regional peace and security. Such actions serve neither country and would undermine the shared interest of nearly 2 billion people in the South Asia. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, South Asia faces enough shared challenges. Shared waters should become a source of cooperation, confidence, and regional integration, not coercion or confrontation. The Indus Waters Treaty, signed over several decades ago and after several years of negotiations, was meant for best utilization of the available waters in the Indus Basin by both the countries, provided it is implemented in the spirit in which it was conceived, without being tapped in a zero-sum mentality. Pakistan remains steadfast in its commitment to peace, dialogue, and good neighborly relations. We seek neither confrontation nor conflict. We seek respect for international law, faithful implementation of treaty obligations, respect for each other's water rights, and cooperation that serves the interests of present and future generations. At the same time, we will not allow a rightful share of water resources to be misappropriated and will safeguard and defend our rights and interests under international law through all available means. You might recall that after the May 2025 war, and rather after Pahalgam incident, and after the announcement of India to hold the treaty in abeyance, there was a National Security Committee meeting in Pakistan, chaired by Prime Minister Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif. National Security Committee comprises of the civil and military leadership, and they were unanimous in declaring that any diversion, any interruption, and any reduction in the rights of Pakistan vis-a-vis Indus Waters Treaty will be treated as an act of war. And we decided this, we mean it, and we will make sure that our rights are not prejudiced or abused. I can say Pakistan has demonstrated to be a very careful country which tried to contribute to bring peace and security in this region. I'm referring to the US-Iran conflict. Recently, you have all observed. Pakistan did its best to bring together on the negotiation table two parties which have never shook hand in the last 47 years. 10th and 11th of April this year, these two countries, we managed to convince that they sat on the same table, direct dialogue, after 47 years. Some countries like our neighbor used to call Pakistan a terrorist country. Pakistan is today known as peacemaker of the region in South Asia, alhamdulillah. This is the country which has been now in the recent Oslo forum. The US envoy said Pakistan has become the net security provider of this region. Pakistan believes in dignity, respect, no matter how small a country is or how big a country is. They're all equal in the foreign policy of Pakistan. We respect them all. The UN Security Council was created for what? For peace and security. And that peace and security is the main responsibility which is being sabotaged by our neighbor through an act of, I would say, illegal declaration of treaty in abeyance. This is not on. It will never be acceptable. We have to work within the treaty mechanism. You just read from one of the speaker, Article 12 very clearly spells out that how this treaty can be changed, how this treaty can be, superseded. It is only by mutual consent. And there's a mechanism, there are three-tier mechanism in the treaty itself, how to resolve the disputes. So, one-sided, any action by our neighbor, they would be making a mistake. They did make a mistake last year. The Pahalgam incident, Pakistan had nothing to do with it. Within hours, Pakistan Prime Minister Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif made an open offer. And the international community is very well witness to that offer, that we are ready to undergo and agree to any international investigation of the Pahalgam incident, which actually led to their declaration of treaty in abeyance. Could it be like earlier similar incidents in India which led to 5th of August 2019 by declaring Jammu and Kashmir as part of India, by all of a sudden changing its constitution? So please don't play these mistakes and don't play these dramas. I think we should live like good neighbors. My parliamentary colleague just shared with you, Pakistan has made in the past number of attempts. Obviously, Hina Ruwani Khar Sahiba belongs to People's Party. And earlier she has been a part of Musharraf government. So, we in all sincerity are ready to talk on all issues, what we call composite dialogues, but it takes two to tango. It's not that Pakistan would like to do something and the other side would not take it. They become so narrow-minded that even the sports are not subjected to this Hindutva, philosophy. See the recent elections in Bihar. What happened? 40 million people were disenfranchised and they were deprived to vote. So you see, that is their, internal matters, but I think the world community must take notice of it. It is certainly not desirable. This region houses over 2 billion human beings. and we are all bound by the UN, though that institution was created for such purposes. The UN Security Council main mandate is security and peace. So this is a clear subject which the global community must impress upon in order to have peace in the region. So in conclusion, the Indus Water Treaty is not merely, as I said, a water sharing arrangement, but a vital instrument of regional peace, stability and cooperation. Let us reaffirm that shared waters must never be weaponized. They must remain a bridge between nations, guided by cooperation, dialogue and respect for international law, for the benefit of the present and future generations. I thank you all.
Senator Mohammed Ishaq, thank you. Now, to formally conclude today's proceedings, it's my privilege to present Ambassador Johar Salim, President of the Institute of Regions, for a vote of thanks. Ambassador Johar Salim has had a distinguished diplomatic career spanning several decades, during which he has made significant contributions to Pakistan's foreign policy and international engagement. And as President of the Institute of Regional Studies, he continues to promote informed dialogue, rigorous research and constructive policy discourse on issues of regional and global importance. Ambassador Johar Salim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tanya. Esteemed Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, esteemed panelists, Excellencies, distinguished guests. As we conclude this watershed seminar, it is my singular privilege on behalf of the Institute of Regional Studies and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to express our profound appreciation to all those whose wisdom, scholarship, and commitment have made today's deliberations both enlightening and consequential. Our discourse today has been greatly enriched by the gracious presence of the Deputy Prime Minister. A participation that reflected the paramount importance Pakistan attaches to safeguarding its water security, while steadfastly upholding international law and promoting regional peace. Sir, your thoughtful address has provided a fitting finale to today's deliberations. Our profound appreciation is equally due to Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, whose eloquent address reaffirmed the enduring significance of the Indus Waters Treaty as a cornerstone of regional stability and a testament to the importance of honoring international commitments. My sincere thanks also go to our distinguished session chairs, my dear friend Khurram Dastagir Saab, whose brilliant exposés I always enjoy very much, and Ms. Hina Robani Kar, whose able stewardship enriched today's discussion with wisdom and balance. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been privileged today to hear an exceptional panel of speakers. Sayyid Meher Ali Shah adequately examined the treaty's legal architecture and the indispensable role of the Permanent Indus Commission. My dear friend Ahmad Bilal Sufi cogently reaffirmed the treaty's firm foundations in international law. Joining us from Moscow, Dr. Roxolana Zegon shared valuable international perspectives on peace, regional stability, and humanitarian security. My dear friend Musaddiq Malik compellingly highlighted the close relationship between water security, climate resilience, and sustainable development. From Beijing, Dr. Victor Gao insightfully reflected upon the treaty's stabilizing influence in one of the world's most strategically significant regions. Lieutenant General Amir Riaz vividly portrayed the grave consequences of the weaponization of water. Lastly, Ms. Laurie Watkins placed today's deliberations within the broader framework of international river governance and demonstrated how enduring institutions help prevent conflict and foster cooperation. I also wish to acknowledge with great appreciation the presence of all esteemed cabinet members, especially the Defense Minister who was earlier here today, parliamentarians, heads of diplomatic missions, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, as well as senior government officials, distinguished scholars, and academics representing civil society and our research community. My thanks also to the members of the media and all other participants whose engagement greatly enriched this seminar. Finally, I express my sincere appreciation to the dedicated teams of the Institute of Regional Studies and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting under the dynamic leadership of Federal Minister for Information, Ataullah Tarer. These teams made today's event possible and a resounding success. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have done more than discuss a treaty. We have reaffirmed a principle that the enduring peace is best secured through respect for international law, fidelity to solemn commitments, and institutions that enable nations to resolve their differences peacefully. Throughout today's deliberations, one conclusion emerged with unmistakable clarity. The Indus Waters Treaty is more than a water-sharing arrangement. It is one of the world's most enduring examples of how law, dialogue, and institutions can transform competing interests into peaceful cooperation. Our discussions also reaffirmed that the Indus Basin lies at the heart of Pakistan's water, food, energy, and economic security. The uninterrupted flow of the western rivers is therefore not merely an economic necessity. It is an existential national interest. We have also been reminded that lasting water security depends not on the volume of water, but equally on certainty, transparency, predictability, and cooperation. The path forward is therefore very clear, as is the message which emerged from this August gathering today, loud and clear. An Indian leadership must take note, honor the treaty in letter and spirit, exchange information openly and in a timely manner, resolve any differences through the institutions and mechanisms established by the treaty, ensure that every project fully complies with the treaty's legal and technical requirements. These are not unreasonable expectations. They're simply the obligations that the parties themselves freely accepted under one of the world's longest standing and most respected international water sharing agreements. And water is not merely a strategic resource. It is the source of life itself. as the Holy Quran reminds us. And we made from water every living thing. Its stewardship therefore demands wisdom, restraint, and a shared sense of responsibility. Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, permit me to conclude with Shakespeare's timeless words from The Tempest. The rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance. Few words better capture the enduring lesson of today's deliberations. May wisdom continue to guide our choices. May the rule of law continue to strengthen peace. And may the waters of the Indus continue to flow as a source of life, cooperation, and hope. For treaties do more than regulate rivers. They build trust, and most of all, they shape the future. I thank you all. Pakistan Zindabad.
साबिक सफ़ीर जौहर सलीम खिताब कर रहे थे सेमिनार से। उन्होंने कहा कि क़वानीन के मुताबिक मामले को देखना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है और तमाम मुकर्ररीन ने सिंतास मुआहदे पर सीर हासिल गुफ्तगू की है। साबिक सफ़ीर का ये भी कहना था कि सिंतास मुआहदे के बारे में कानूनी पहलुओं का जायज़ा लेने के लिए ये सेमिनार जो गया है खुश आइंद है। और आपको बता रहे हैं कि इस्लामाबाद में सिंतास मुआहदे से मुतालिक बैनुल अक़वामी सेमिनार का इनेकाद किया गया और मुख्तलिफ मुकर्ररीन ने गुफ्तगू की। साबिक सफ़ीर जौहर सलीम अब से कुछ देर पहले गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा कि सिंतास मुआहदे के बारे